recommendations to the board on aspects of teaching, learning, educational equity. I'll just let
I did.
Marina in.
I did.
Oh, we got a few more people.
I already
Where
did.
are you? There we are. Hi there, folks. We're just getting started and we've just put on the recording. Thank you very much. And hello to, okay, we've got Marina's note taker and we've got Marina here. So that's great. And Ryan and all the rest of you that I've said hello to. So I was right in the middle of what I was doing, which is the mandate, which is to look at all aspects of teaching, learning, and educational equity. And we strive to have all students receive whatever they need to develop their full academic and social potential and to thrive every day. At this point, I want to give thanks and acknowledge the lands on which we work, play, and love. And that's the traditional shared territory of the Qualicum and Snanawas First Nations people. First people. Nations. However you want to put it. So today's meeting, I usually time out the agendas and try and figure out who's going to do what to whom. We have no presentations from schools or students today, simply because we were so close to that recent break and we couldn't kind of tee anybody up. Although I think, Mr. Terpstra, thank you very much for trying. I'm going to turn it over to my friend Denise Spencer-Dahl, who can introduce herself far better than I can introduce her. And she's going to talk about the Literacy Supports Initiative, which I'm excited about, and zero waste, I think. So maybe not. Anyway, over to you, Denise.
Thanks. I actually have a room full of close to 30 educators just 2 doors down from me that is learning about universal screeners. So I was going to fill people in on what's happening with the universal screeners. I believe Jill Wilson is going to talk about the literacy plan. And then I gave a slide over to Rudy Terpstra to talk about zero waste, just because I want to be at the ending of our session. And I promised them I would be back.
Oh, that's fine.
So there we go. That's what my plan is. So I'm just going to share my screen.
I love the sound effects, Denise.
Oh, sorry. I forget that people can hear. I forget that people can hear what I'm doing. There you go. So you should see a big screen that says Universal Screeners on it.
You got it.
Thumbs up. Great. So Universal Screeners, we have some very excited educators that maybe were not as excited to come to the in-service when they started, but there's a great buzz in the room now. And so they're seeing the value and what it can mean for their practice. So first off, the language is a little bit different than we've been using in the past in our district. So just so everybody's on the same page, a universal screener, it's a quick check. It's like a check engine light. I've been to quite a few presentations and they do a bunch of analogies saying that if your check engine light comes on in your car, it means that, oh, it might be at risk that something is going to be needs some attention to in your car and that you need to pay a bit more attention to it and maybe change what you're doing. Same with eye screening. The gentleman, David, that's in the room that's doing the presentation, he said when you go to an optometrist, they do a quick 3-minute check and then you're either good to go and they don't dive deeper into diagnostics unless they realize it's you need more assessment on your eyes. So what's important to know about universal screeners is that it is measuring foundational literacy skills and it's for all students. The only time that students would not be included in a universal screener would generally be if they have a high level of vision impairment or hearing impairment, but it's meant for all. It's well researched. The one that our district has chosen to use this year has 40 years of research behind it, and it is validated every 2 years. Just to put that into perspective, level B testing is most level B testing is made valid. They look at the validity of it about every 10 years. And the DIBELS screener that our district is using is they research it and make sure it's valid every 2 to 3 years. And it's efficient. It's about 6 to 8 minutes per child. If you read in some of the other literature, they'll say 4, but I've now heard it twice from 2 different presentations. It's more like 6 to 8 minutes per child because you have to account for transitions. So the current situation that we have going on right now is that it's mandated by the ministry for all kindergarten students in 2025-2026 academic year. It's supposed to roll out for K to 3 for 2026-27, but as we all know, the ministry sometimes changes their minds. So we'll wait for the official memo to come through Dr. Peter Jory's office, so we'll know. We understand that the ministry is developing their own screener because there have been some wonders about having something more place-based. And as of today, all kindergarten teachers have been trained to administer the screener. And if anybody's interested in looking at what the training kind of looks like, there is lots of free resources online that you too could practice doing some of the subtests if you want to see what the kids are doing and the teachers who are administering it. The screener information, because it's quick, it's timely, it's meant to be used. It is not about labeling a child, it's about assessing risk and knowing which students in your class might be at risk for further down the line struggles in reading. We have a wonderful new set, not really new, but new as of June last year, of the K to 4 foundational learning progressions. They're a wonderful roadmap, and it gives teachers now a place to start so that if they know that they have kids that are at risk, they can look where they are on the learning progressions and other assessment data and know where to start and make informed decisions of where to direct their instructional practice. This is the timeline of the administration. This is a rollout year, so we did not do the beginning of the year assessment for kindergarten. We did our own snapshot, so we will be doing the middle and the end. And as you can see, there's 4 subsections in the DIBELS. So word reading, nonsense word, phoneme segmentation, and letter naming. I won't get into the details, but if anybody wants to chat with me about that, I will chat all day with people. So these are the big 5 in literacy. And the DIBELS looks at indicators in everything except for vocabulary. They don't exactly look at comprehension, but the research has shown that if students have high fluency, they have the brain capacity to do the comprehension. They have that room of higher level thinking that they're not working on decoding the words. Vocabulary, the reason it's not included in there is because it's very regional. So that is one of the things that the ministry was looking at in the passages that they might be wanting to develop. But as we know, a child on Vancouver Island is not the same as a child who lives in Prince George. So I think that's quite a bit of work that needs to be done before they can come up with passages that they believe are place-based for everybody. So I think those conversations are ongoing. So a little bit of brain science. Learning to read is not a natural thing for children. We have to rewire the brain so that it can make meaning out of squiggles on a page. It's integrated, it's very complex, and we know that kids need time and practice in order to become fluent readers, and fluency is what our goal is, because fluent readers have the ability for comprehension, higher level comprehension, and those higher level thinking skills that we all want kids to have. So identifying, this is the crutch of it, identifying children at risk in the critical areas of sound and language structures and providing additional practice and support in K and first grade can lead to positive reading outcomes in 92% of children. Because I know there's trustees on here and everybody talks budget. every penny that you spend earlier on, you get a higher result by early intervention than if you wait to grade 3, 4, 5, 6. It can take 4, 5, 6 amount of time and resources to have a child up to fluency if you wait later on in the reading kind of journey. So K1 are critical to lay that strong foundation so that kids can become fluent readers. And just to go back to what Elaine was saying, what our goals are, we want to give kids the support that they need, which is strong tier 1 instruction. But if kids are at risk, we need to look what we need to do differently in tier 1 instruction, look at our tier 2 instruction, which is in the classroom as well as with our learning support teachers. And hopefully our pyramid starts to look that our tier 1 instruction, our quality instruction by our classroom teachers is meeting 85% of the needs of the kids in the class. Currently, right now, our pyramid is kind of inverted. So we are working on that, and we are strongly looking at tier 1 instructions and seeing what we can do so that we can invert our triangle around. So what Elaine was saying of what our goal is with this type of a committee, literacy's ripple effects are lifelong. Strong literacy sets the stage for better job opportunities, improved health, and greater confidence and connection. And this is what we want for all of our kids. When kids are frustrated and don't feel good about themselves, you see it as behavior, you see it as mental health crises. So we have the opportunity, because there is a spotlight being shone on early literacy, to change the trajectory of some of our kids that are at risk. And I'm here obviously advocating for continued support for K-3 early literacy resources and support. We have a room of very dedicated kindergarten teachers next door. They've written some things that they would like to see from the district for support. I'm going to gather those and hopefully share out those ideas probably to the literacy working group, and hopefully it will find its way to the school trustees as well. So thanks for letting me have the time, and I'm open for questions.
Yeah, thanks, Denise. Yeah, passion. I mean, this is really, really important. Early intervention is so important. So thank you for that. I'll go over to Trustee Austin, and I also just want to acknowledge that I saw in the chat that Ryan's camera's not working. So that's why we don't see his lovely face this morning. Open to anybody for comments and questions. So over to you, Trustee Austin.
Thanks, Denise, for that. That was great. I was just going to say, make sure you follow up when you say that you hope it gets before trustees. We do have budget deliberations coming up and all sorts of opportunities for our educational community to participate in that. So please just follow up and make sure that if there is at all any sort of budget considerations, that that makes it to the budget discussions.
Good point, Trustee Austin. Dr. Jory, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, and thanks again to Denise. I was looking forward to this one. I saw it on the agenda, and I was quite intrigued to hear a little bit more. It's obviously very impactful and therefore very interesting. You did mention early on, when are we going to hear from the province? And I'll just give a little context to that. I do go to these provincial meetings, and this topic does come up from time to time. And I'll say two things. I think it's going to be a while is the overall theme. And I'm going to say two reasons for that. One is the budget situation is impacting their work. They're trying to do the core things in a very streamlined and a cost-effective manner. And there seems to be less money for people, committees, travel, meetings, and such. And so that seems to be a factor. The other one, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is that educators are often very passionate about their subject areas, and there's a great deal of passion around the topic of literacy and teaching literacy. And there historically is quite a broad range of opinions. And you could kind of think about it like a continuum, and then some people maybe, work out of the middle a little bit. But when I was in my last meeting, the ministry folks were talking about what they thought they were going to do about the screener, and us making our own makes all kinds of sense because we were going to co-opt somebody else's at some point, and I think that's fraught with problems, which I won't get into. But what the person who was responsible was sharing, was put out to tables for discussion, and even at my table there was almost a mutiny. Like there was this massive kind of, some people liked it, some people hated it, and I mean it's going to be tough to get on the same page when you think about the context. So for us to get there and get there quickly, get something that maybe wasn't universally perfect, but simple enough that we could get on the ground and give us that check engine light, I think was the right way to go. And so I'm glad we're up and running, and the learning is taking place, and we're able to roll it out and use it in a useful manner. And I like the analogy of the going to the optometrist. Of course, I've just been, and that 3-minute test to see, do you need to to learn a little bit more? And the answer was yes. We do need to know more about your eyes, Peter. And so we did that more thorough test too. And here I am with my progressive. So thanks for the presentation. And I hope that little contextual information was somewhat helpful.
Thank you, Dr. Jory. I think it was, and I concur. There's always issues when you introduce programs. So over to Madam President. Matt.
Thanks, Elaine, and thanks, Denise, for that presentation. I guess I got one comment, one question. I do believe that SEAC is the place to bring any of the stuff that you bring up with the kindergarten teachers. So I look forward to seeing that at SEAC. And the second thing is I just didn't quite understand the triangle piece. It looked like we're supposed to start at tier 1 and go tier 2, tier 3, but what I thought you said is that we're actually starting at tier 3 and going tier 2 to tier 1. So I was confused by your statement. I don't know if you can unconfuse me on that.
I can. So generally, when you look at assessment data, tier 1 instruction, which is your classroom instruction, meets the needs of about 85% of your learners. So when we look at risk for what we're seeing for some of the early DIBELS screener data, we have more kids that are appearing in the highest risk category than in the lowest risk category. So instead of having the majority of our kids at low risk, right now we have the majority of our students at high risk of not being able to read successfully in higher grades. We are not unique in our district. They're seeing it province-wide with some of the early data that's coming in. So that doesn't mean that, oh my goodness, everyone needs tier 3 support. It can mean that we need to change some of our instructional strategies in tier 1 so that we are meeting the needs of our students. And a lot of the time it's time, just the repetition. So for instance, a gifted student, you can give repetitions on a new concept in literacy like 2 times and they've got it. In a neurotypical student, 4 to 8 times and they've got it. In a student that might need tier 2 intervention, it's like 8 to 12, 8 to 14. And then a child who needs intensive support, it can be 20 plus. Some of them it's like 200. So in tier 1 instruction, we have the capacity in classrooms to increase the repetitions so that we're making sure that the information that we're trying to impart to the kids and learn, that they have more opportunities to see it, practice it, and be exposed to it. So it's a slight shift. So an example for that would be like when you're lining up to go to gym, as the kids pass by and you pass them by to the PE teacher, you can say, give me a word that starts with the digraph. Shh, it's one more repetition. It's finding those little spots. And I know what you're going to say, Matt. It does sound like it's more work on the teachers, the classroom teachers, but that's not where we're coming from. We're just looking for the little teachable moments to increase the repetitions. That's not to say we don't need support for tier 2 and tier 3, but just if our data comes out a sea of red that we have a whole bunch of kids that are high risk, it's not practical to say that we're going to have 1-on-3 instruction for our entire district K-3. So we need to look, what can we do at the grassroots level a little bit differently, and hopefully start to change that pyramid.
I appreciate that explanation. So I understand that pyramid, what you're talking about. Yeah, and I was going to mention something about workload, and I just think it's important that, you know, continually adding to workload is never a good thing. As long as, I mean, if it sounds like the Ks really appreciate the system and they found a way to incorporate within their teaching, and it's moving students forward, like, why are we, let's do that. But let's also not make any additional workload pieces. I hope the conversation comes around to how can this new way of doing something be incorporated into a workload, and perhaps maybe lessen a workload. Is there better efficiencies that can come from using some of this data moving forward? So that's always just has to be in the back of our mind, is that teacher workload piece, so that it's manageable. But I appreciate that. Thanks, Denise.
Just quickly speaking to workload, as most of the people who are on this call know, I always sing the praises of the DRC. Some of the work that I do, and definitely the work that Andy does here, is that we make sure that resources are available to directly support the foundational skills. So since I've been in this role, I think we've added probably 120 different grab and go bags that you can do with small groups, whole class. So we're definitely trying to make the DRC as user-friendly as possible. We're linking it to the phonological awareness skills that teachers might see gaps in, creating games, creating activities so that teachers are not having to create their own resources as much. There's also been a high usage of common language using the vehicle of UFly, so that when teachers are sharing resources back and forth, they're using the same language, they're using some of the same activities. So we're trying to not add to, because creating resources takes a lot of time. And so we're trying to make it so it's easily searchable. Andy's done a lot of work with the catalog so that people can find what they're looking for quickly, and so that it relates to some of the literacy gaps. So I'm singing the praises of the DRC again.
Oh, yes. And
Thanks
we're
so
going
much,
to budget,
Denise. And
so.
I'm gonna we're gonna let Denise go because she has to close out the session next door.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then I can take over from the presentation from there.
Okay. I was just going to thank Denise, and Denise, I'm going to speak to the early years and the fact that we've been looking at what's coming for a long time. So thank you so much. Come back. Okay.
I will do. I'm going to go back with my people in the other room.
Yes.
Thank you
very much for your work.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think when we talk about this pyramid that Denise was alluding to, sitting at the early years table for a number of years now, we've been seeing these children come through our Strong Start program, our Munchkin Land program, and there's been some impact from COVID. There's also a lot of families that we can't seem to reach. And so we've been seeing this kind of bump in early learning support being needed by the district for quite a while. And it is disturbing. I think COVID had a lot to do with it. I want to thank Matt for his comments. And I want to say SEAC, we're trying to get away. Curriculum Implementation Advisory Committee. And that is a committee that is formed from the union contract. And our trustee Kellogg, who's not here today, sadly, is the liaison to that. So that's about all I got to say on that. Anything else before we move on? Not seeing anything. Over to you, Mr. Terpstra.
Okay, so what Denise was presenting was you know, some of our work around screeners at the primary literacy level. I'm going to bring us back up to the district view and share with people the literacy plan for the district that we shared, that we've submitted to the ministry. And also some of the other work that we've been doing at intermediate and middle years. You can see a slideshow right now.
Yep.
Awesome. And you can still see a slideshow?
I can, and you're going to figure out how to embed that in our notes.
Yeah. So this is the Qualicum School District Literacy Professional Learning Plan. As people may or may not be aware, the ministry has funded this plan, and we submitted a plan to explain how we're going to use it for learning across the district. The overview of our plan, we have professional learning focus, and that's especially a lot of what we're doing this year and next year. Culturally responsive practices, and we are integrating, and I'll share some examples, Indigenous perspectives, and emphasize equity to meet diverse learning needs. And then, of course, data-driven instruction guided by assessment data, First People's principle of learning for responsive teaching. Our K-3 strategies, essentially we've broken our focuses into 4 parts: K-3, which is also known as primary, intermediate, and then the middle years, which is bridging, is 8, 9, but bridging the 7s and even the 10s, and then secondary 10 to 12. And so in K-3, we've talked about the universal screeners, which are also connected to phonemic awareness and phonics, teacher training and resources, and that again is happening today, and early literacy development, focus on developing progressions, ensuring the establishment of literacy skills, and reducing future learning gaps, as Denise so well stated. Grade 4 to 7 literacy development, focused on literacy instruction and balanced literacy, fostering both reading, writing through a variety of instructional approaches. Again, data-driven. Here we're also going to add FSA, and we have grade 3 and 5 rights across the district. Professional learning, and I'll share in detail one of those events at the end of the slideshow, and then fluency and comprehension. In our grade 8-9 literacy engagement, which we call the middle years, we have cross-curricular literacy strategies. One of the things in high school that we do remind teachers, and speaking as a high school teacher, that literacy is everybody's role, right? And as we all know, in secondary, we get into specific course classes. And sometimes we just need to remind people that, hey, literacy is in life sciences 12 and chemistry 11 and calculus 12 and English 10 and social studies 11. Indigenous perspectives integration has been a big focus of our learning. Teachers collaborate to embed Indigenous perspectives into literacy instruction, promoting cultural awareness, and then adolescent engagement. And particularly this is a big conversation in the middle years, because when we talk about those preteen and early teen kids, they're a different breed of people, and when we so when we tell the teachers, when you're starting a new lesson the next day, and that you've done, nothing but fractions for a whole half a day yesterday, and your students say, I don't remember that, they're actually being honest in their situation. So in grade 10 to 12 is focused on cross-curricular or cross-subject literacy, reminding people of the fact that all of us have to pay attention to our students as readers, and then what are the skills that we want to develop in our students, and particularly focused on strategies and activities that will develop their literacy skills. this is just an overview of the learning events we've done this year so far and are continuing to do right up to today. It was really appropriate and not actually planned that the Dibbles training was happening today, but it is going on right now. And then how we're doing this through collaborative planning, inclusive engagement, and then focus on Indigenous education. And I just wanted to let people know we did present our plan at the end of last year to the Indigenous Education Council, got feedback, most of which was that concern for cultural sensitivity of assessments. And we've definitely taken that. And that honestly is one of the big reasons why the province is developing its own screener, because all the screeners that are available to the province right now are not written in BC and not culturally sensitive to anybody specifically in BC. But we are confident that the new screener in BC will be more culturally sensitive to BC students and Indigenous students. Measurable goals, improved literacy achievement, of course, teacher confidence and practice, and that's what we're focusing a lot of our learning around right now. Community partnerships and professional learning feedback. The last two things before I stop the screen share. This was our middle years, and we brought in Leighton Schneller, who's a well-known educator. This happened at Bolinas. The teacher's name is Sydney Elston, who gave up her class. But what you're seeing here is actually teachers learning from students. The students are in the middle of each of those pods, the teachers on the outside. And this was an amazing day. The teachers co-plan the lesson with Leighton. Then we all go into the classroom and actually teach and observe the lesson, learn alongside the students. In this case, we were focused on improving water situations. Then the Indigenous education team actually shared their timeline. So we had a video from the timeline project. We had actual articles and actually a movie clip where the kids synthesized and did learning activities to create their own response to water situations across North America and locally. And so that was the middle years one. And really recently, in fact, last week, we did the intermediate learning session with Tandy Gunn. And this is the teacher, Laura, and their students. They're actually doing word sorts as part of their literacy strategy. So I will stop the sharing there and open up to any questions.
Well, I have a bit of a story to tell. And so way back in the day, I was teaching international students in a district that will not be named. And it ended up that they were very good at math. A lot of them were Asian. They were really good at math. I'm not very good at math, but I'm pretty good at English. And so Math 10, the textbook at that time, was so language centered that I taught them language through their Math 10 program. They taught me math. And so talking about, learning agreements where students can teach teachers as well as teachers teaching students. Great examples. Oh, and I see Trustee Kellogg has joined us. Hello, Trustee Kellogg. Yeah, so thank you for that. I'm sure we've got lots of anecdotes that we could share, but we'll just move on. Questions, comments, anything from anybody at this point? Okay, so we've got the CUPE representative, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
That's okay, Elena. My name's Tom.
Okay, hi there.
Hi. I'm obviously not obviously, but I've been thrown into this committee just for today, and I just happened to notice that there weren't any mention of our educational assistants, and I know educational assistants are key to this whole literacy process. So I'm not sure where they fit in and why they aren't mentioned, or I'm hearing a lot of teachers, but like I say, where do we fit in?
Rudy, do you have an answer
Yeah.
for that?
Absolutely, good point. And yes, they even though in the initiatives that I shared, there were not any EAs in that class, but they are absolutely part of the learning and training that we're doing, and they are working alongside our teachers for sure. Good question, Tom. And they're actually they're part of the targeted literacy plan. Yeah.
Thanks, Rudy. I do have a question though. In my day, back in the dark ages, I was a counselor. I couldn't get anyone to assess students before they were in about grade 3. And I'm wondering if that's still true for the psychosocial assessments, and whether that means that children can't get the label, and I don't like the system, so I won't go there, but can't get that designation until grade 3, which is to me too late.
Yeah, that I'm going to defer to Jill, who's going to be here later on the specifics of that, but definitely, yeah, students are being forwarded to student support services. But I'm not exactly sure on the time priority as far as grades go.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to remember to say something.
Yeah, Jill will be here
Anything
later.
further from anybody? Okay, Mr. Terpstra, are you going to talk a bit about zero waste, or is it a little too early for that?
Yeah, we're transitioning to the education report part.
Sure.
Okay.
We're just all over the map.
Yeah, I think what I'll do, I'll do the FSA because again, it's partially literacy and continuing with our theme. And then I'll do the zero waste update after that, if everyone's good with that. So again, I'm going to share a screen again. And I'll start the slideshow. Okay, so this is our FSA scoring feedback, and I also have our raw scores at the end of this slideshow. As people know, from October to mid-November is the window for schools to do the FSA's Foundation Skills Assessment, grade 4 and 7. They are assessing students' numeracy and literacy. And then we gather on a Saturday afternoon in late November, 20 teachers who are willing to work and score our assessments with 2 of our administrators. And we always, as one of the feedback loops from each year, we gather their feedback based on their scoring impressions, and realize this is based on the written aspect. If in literacy, the students rate basically 3 responsive, 2 that are responsive to a written or a reading portion, and then 1 is a thematic personal essay or piece of writing. And then there's 3 numeracy questions in both grade 4 and 7. So those are the aspects that our teaching team scores. So just in an overview of the scoring feedback, student performance summary, we're going to look at the feedback summarizes the literacy highlights strengths and areas for growth. So we pose the question, what are the areas that the students you observe them being strong in, and what were your recommended areas for growth? We also want to use this to help educators identify patterns and plan targeted interventions. And again, you're going to hear much of the same language that we heard from Denise previously. And then preparation, comprehension, creativity, computational skills, and addressing inference and problem solving. Those are the key skills that we want to identify, and with a goal, of course, of continuous improvement. This is literacy. I just want to play that slide because it's really cool. grade 4 literacy strengths and areas for growth. So we noticed students showed a strong effort, preparation, and can comprehend and retell key content. When we say strong effort and preparation, this is something we noticed particularly in this session, both in numeracy and literacy, but almost a high percentage of the kids actually completed all of the assessments in writing, and it is a fairly rigorous assessment. And we also noticed, for example, a student may have struggled with the second numeracy question, but they went on to the third one and completed it. And that doesn't always happen. Usually often if a student experiences fatigue, they may just, not continue on. So that was really positive, and also, kudos go to our teachers and admin for supporting the students and making them feel great about demonstrating learning. Areas for growth, again, literacy 4, developing analytical response, deeper writing insight, and using text-based evidence. And then inferencing, of course, is challenging. Teachers can model reasoning and promote critical thinking activities are some of the things we can do to improve those. Literacy 7, they showed creativity, strong voice, good penmanship, effective use of textual quotations, needs for improvement in areas of growth, textual evidence. Really, we're encouraging our students to not only make a statement, but connect it to usually a piece of literature, a drawing, or whatever it is that they're being asked to analyze. And again, grammar reinforcement, emphasize the use of textual evidence, and encourage vivid language. And then we move on to our numeracy segment.
May I just interrupt you for a moment?
For sure.
I just want to clarify to the group that penmanship's not part of the assessment per se.
Yes.
It was just a comment to acknowledge that our students made an effort to be legible, I believe, and get their information presented in a way that could be perceived by others. And I think that's also, to a small extent at least, part of literacy.
True story. And in fact, the criteria does not even include conventions of language, but we as educators and teachers are always conscious about that and want to continue to improve the skills of our students in that area. Good point. Numeracy, strengths and areas for growth. For the 4s, excelled at recognizing numerical patterns, foundational skills for, a key foundational skill for math concepts. Financial literacy, of course, this is, one of the questions was about money. So students showed a good grasp of financial literacy, and areas for improvement included answering clearly. The students are actually, to get a 4 they need to explain their answers, accurately graphing. So again, one of the struggles we identified 3 years ago was actually graphing skills, and we focused on that. They definitely improved, but now we're actually talking about just fine tuning. Now, almost 90+% of the kids are actually able to create some kind of graph in response, but this is talking about the details of labeling both axes. And then emphasizing mathematical communication, graphing skills, and problem solving. And that really from the intermediate years on is a struggle in numeracy. In the grade 7s, order of operations came up, computational accuracy, strong foundation for math skills. Understanding elapsed time. Again, this was a specific question, 60 minutes versus 100-minute intervals. They had to do a lot of math. They actually had to plan a basketball camp using time and skills. So it was quite a complicated problem, but obviously if you were doing 100-minute hours, it wasn't going to work out. Mastering geometric transformations is an area for growth, and hands-on practice around that is going to be helpful. And overall, just enhancing literacy skills, fostering inferential thinking. I mean, that's really the goal when we get into the high school literacy. We're really talking about synthesizing, being able to take two pieces of media and creating your own thoughts based on those texts. Numeracy, graphing, reasoning, concepts, order of operation are focuses there. And then the last thing I'm going to share is this is really hot off the press. Just realize all the FSA data and results are delayed because of the BCG's job action. So we things are going to be a bit delayed this year in returning. But these are the raw score data for the district. These two areas, so this is grade 4 literacy and numeracy. We're basically status quo as far as last year to this year, but those are both very improved over the past few years. And with the exception, we did take a dip in grade 4 numeracy this year. So that will be a question. But again,
relative to last year only, though. Yes.
And these are strong results. Yeah. And then this is the grade 7. Again, we're seeing 70 and beyond percent student who are on track and extending. All right, and that's the FSA report.
Anybody have anything? I do want to say that Matt had to leave. He's preparing for another meeting. And I thank him always for his comments, and we need to keep that teacher load in mind as we move into budget. But anybody got anything? Thank you for this. It's interesting because what I see is a kind of they get the basic concepts both in numeracy and in literacy, but explaining it and providing more evidence and things like that is maybe something that goes across both lines. Dr. Jory.
Yeah, I think Director Terpstra is being a bit modest here. He's being very factual about the presentation of the information and saying, yes, we've, done well and compared it to last year. I've spent some time lately looking around at the results over the last few years from other districts to our district. I admit it, I'm competitive about this. And the work that we've done, the work that's gone on in our schools, the work that's gone on in our classrooms to get kids ready to the learning that they've taken on together to build their toolbox has had some profound impacts on our results. And for a school district, and I don't think people know this, if you look at our socioeconomic status, which is very highly tied to results on standardized tests, and this is still one of those, we are 20% below the provincial average, and yet our literacy and numeracy results here are well above average. And so, as I like to say about equity, if you take kids that come out of households where they're not rich and not necessarily educated, and you teach them these skills, you're giving them life chances that are exceeding those of which they walked in the door. And that's how we build equity in the system. So kudos to everyone. I honestly, it'd be hard for me to be happier. I'm sure there's more room for us to grow. We're always learning and always developing our practice, but I'm just super pleased with how things are going. So thank you everyone for your great work.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll get out to all of the people who have been involved in this. It's been really great to kind of watch this emerge and watch our numbers go up. It's helped me to appreciate more our FSA data. Okay, Mr.
I've got one more
Terpstra.
piece. Yeah,
You do.
So this is. I know you're getting tired of hearing from me out there, but I'm covering for other people's reports here, and but this is the zero waste, which is the last thing, unless asked for more, that I'll be speaking to today. So,
this must be Denise's PowerPoint,
yes,
is it?
Yes. Zero waste, which we've been doing for I think about 5 years, and through the regional district of Nanaimo, we partner with Nanaimo schools. We get a quarter, and they get 3/4 of the money, and but I mean this comes to a tune of I think it's $20,000 for our district. So I brought Denise along, and she coordinates and puts it out to the schools. Schools put proposals together, and we distribute money, and it's kind of a nice thing. And at the end of the year, we invoice Nanaimo Lady Smith Schools, who invoices the RDN, and it comes full circle. So what Denise has created here is sort of categories of what our grant proposals are. One in the middle there is less contamination, updating signage. If, for people that are new to the group here, all of our recycling bins, so we have compost, recycling, and waste bins in all of our schools, and those came as a result of this initiative. French and English language signing, Oceanside has got updating their signage, and more user-friendly and visible. Reducing lamination, big pollutant. We reduce reusable plastic sleeves, larger size being trialed for posters so they can be updated, and less glare. Lamination, I didn't realize how big of an issue this was and how contentious of a thing it was. But Denise and the DRC team have done a great job of getting us out of lamination, except when absolutely necessary, and providing alternatives that are more environmentally friendly. Reducing paper, portable stand-up boards, personal whiteboards, whiteboard in. You can see even our new desks, kids can write on the desks and do their numeracy equations on them. And many that don't have writable desks actually have little whiteboards that they can bring to their desks. Reduce single item use, library book bags, stainless roasters for kitchens, hands-on learning. We're doing beach cleanups. Again, both the high schools have environmental groups. Science World, there's the new exhibit on recycling. So now kids can, classroom teachers can use this money to actually go on a field trip to Vancouver, and composting and vermiculture, recycled art. And then last, snapshots of student involvement, elementary sites, all sites, including incoming kindergarten students, secondary, all sites, and district departments, including the Indigenous Department and DRC, are all involved in these initiatives.
Thank you, Mr. Terpstra. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get the students who get these grants to come and talk here at the Ed Committee. Trustee Austin, and then I have a comment as well.
Thanks for that, Rudy, and thank Denise for putting that together, please. This isn't directly related to the RDN grant money. However, I think it's still tied into the concept of zero waste, looking at our environmental footprint, and that is the use of AI, artificial intelligence, in our school district. Has a huge environmental impact on the planet. It's so big and so involved and so many tentacles. It is really hard. The UN is trying to get a hold on it. A lot of the big universities are trying to get a hold on it. But every time, if you decide to just query ChatGPT, how far is the sun from the earth? That takes about 5 times as much energy than to just do it in Google. It can take up to 7 to 8 times the amount of energy for some of this computational workload that AI does. Every time we ask AI to do something, it's using water, it's using energy, it's using critical minerals that have their own problems. It is such a pervasive environmental problem, and though I recognize that AI can have some benefits, I think it's really important, and I really hope that it's the kind of conversations we start having with our staff and students around the detrimental effects of AI. And if you don't need to use it, maybe don't use it. Might be a good place to start, because it's pretty frightening what it does. I recognize it can also help with some climate challenges. It can and process the data and stuff really fast. But if we don't need it, if perhaps we should be writing some of our own text sometimes instead of asking AI to do it, perhaps we should be doing that. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Austin, and I'm sure Mr. Terpstra, we've been looking at AI through the CIAC, Curriculum Implementation Advisory Committee. So we'll probably be looking at that as well. Just before I go to Trustee Kellogg, I just wanted to say that one of the things that I attended a while ago was the Mount Arrowsmith Bioregional Fair. It had a different name at KSS, and the town council had students do a dot exercise, dotmocracy, on sustainable development goals. And what came up, and I've got more work to do on this because it wasn't scientific in any way. Lots of dots on clean water and sanitation, lots of dots on food and hunger, and lots of dots on life below water. So we are kind of getting to the students in terms of sustainable development. Like I say, that not, dotmocracy is not the best, most empirical way of doing things. The other thing that strikes me is way back when I was co-sponsoring Interact at Bolinas, and you might have still been the principal then when I was doing that. I think that we got a zero waste grant way back then. So we might have been doing this for 10, 12 years. I don't know. It's been a long time, but I'm glad we're doing it. Over to you, Trustee Kellogg. Did you have a comment? No, you're good? All righty. Anything further? Moving right along, I think we're now looking for Associate Superintendent Wilson to come in, unless you want to do her presentation as well, Mr. Terpstra. But he's still on mute.
I did
There
that
we
with the literacy. The literacy plan was our co-presentation.
Okay, fair enough. So we're kind of at the end of the agenda then? Yeah?
Yeah.
So I actually love it when we're a little chaotic. I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but you know, we kind of shove things in and shove things around and do the best we can. And I want to thank Mr. Terpstra and the rest of the team for being so flexible around that. Upcoming topics. We have brain and belonging on our list, and we're hoping that we'll get to that at some point. That kind of took the place of the State of Child and Youth Report. The State of Child and Youth Report is available, so if you want that, please let me know. The learning support we have actually done before, so we're going to try and get the Indigenous Ed folks here for the next meeting. And we also have kind of bookmarked, Marina, where are you? Hi, Marina. We've kind of bookmarked maybe a report from the Food Working Group at some point in the future. And I'll follow up with you this evening when we're both at the same PAC meeting, I think. All righty then. I think that's all I've got. I don't know if anybody has anything else. Nope. Okay. Our next meeting is on February 10th, 2 o'clock, and we will be doing it video again. And I just hope everybody has a great day, and we are done a half hour early, which is kind of what I expected. So, any final comments from anybody? Nope. All right. We'll see you all later. Bye now.
All right.